Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for your patience and working through those technical difficulties. I do want to say again, thank you for joining us today on our Webinar Wednesday series. This is presented by Concrete Careers Academy, which is a collaborative educational endeavor with Carolinas, Kentucky, and Tennessee Ready Mix Associations. So today's topic is utilizing AI for improved industry efficiency. So we appreciate all of our companies joining us today. But before we get started in introducing our speakers, I would like to highlight our antitrust policies. So we cannot talk about pricing on this webinar. We cannot talk about any type of industry knowledge exchange aside from the topic today. So just be mindful. And with that being said, I would like to introduce our speakers today. We have Michael Fletcher, Billy Ripple, Sarah McGuire, as well as Lenny Morris. So thank you all for joining. And for a quick introductory purpose, would you all like to go in order, Michael, first, introduce your role and your company?
Sure. So Michael Fletcher, I'm VP of Sales and Marketing at AI Crete. We are a artificial intelligence provider for the concrete industry, providing quality control software and do mix optimization utilizing artificial intelligence through the software. Been in the concrete industry 20 some plus years, live out in Colorado.
Thank you, Michael. Billy?
Billy Ripple. I'm a solutions specialist, team lead here at Command Alcon. I come from the industry. I've been in the industry about 8 years now. Former IT guy for a ready mix producer here in DFW. Been with Command Alcon about 3 years now, and cover everything ready mix from all of our software solutions we offer to the market. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Thanks, Jessica. Sarah McGuire. I'm the head of business development here at Geotech Scientific. Geotech is a company that does a range of testing products and software for concrete, very focused on quality. And in the last couple of years, we dove into the realm of artificial intelligence for optimizations of mixes and material management across your quality department. Geotech is a company almost coming up on our 15-year anniversary, and I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary.
Excellent. Thank you. And Lenny?
Thank you. Got the tech issues solved on this side. That's good. Appreciate it for sticking with me. Lenny Morris, Senior VP of Sales at Cystine Technologies. Been kicking around this industry for 35 years now, and am very involved in the product advancements and serving this industry through every technology we can possibly add.
Excellent. Thank you all for joining us. And of course, my name is Jessica Wilson. I'm the Director of Technical Services and Education for Carolinas Ready Mix Concrete Association, and I will be moderating the panel. And again, we appreciate all of our panelists joining us to share how AI can improve our industry as a whole and what we have to look forward to in terms of the evolution and transformation of the concrete and respective sectors. So we will go ahead and get started with our panel. And the first opening question to all panelists, and we will go in order, Michael, Billy, Sarah, and then Lenny for this first question. And the opening question is, how have you currently experienced and ultimately foresee AI, artificial intelligence, providing beneficial business solutions to our industry? Michael?
Yeah, so there's plenty to unpack there. I mean, obviously we've got various segments represented here with mix optimization, logistics optimization, just ultimately improving the workforce efficiency in a variety of ways, whether that's speeding up finding mixes or improving logistics, but also just in day to day, right? I mean, if people aren't using tools like ChatGPT to help with their correspondence or their social media, I mean, it can really percolate just about every aspect of your business and how you leverage the technology. I think the big difference in what we do is it's very data driven. I think people tend to think that AI, they think about ChatGPT, right, and how it's based on bias and things that it's read, whereas in an industry like ours, the data is hard data, right? It's not opinion that we use for driving our AI solutions.
Thank you. And Billy, how do you see AI really transforming our industry?
Great question. We're certainly at its infancy still. I think, we'll definitely see how it evolves as the years pass. I think one of the biggest things is being able to consume significantly more data and process that data and give us outcomes based on that data uh, faster and in real time compared to any human being that they're capable of. Some of the large language models and machine learning engines that consume data has consumed the entirety of the internet uh, to build their neural network to generate data based on that consumption, and that's just significantly more advanced than even the smartest human beings on the planet. So being able to consume that much data, especially in the ready mix industry, from fleet management, logistics, materials, especially mix optimization. I'm really excited there to be able to take all that data, consume it, and then come up with an outcome. I think that'll be being able to utilize that data and as human beings make decisions with that data will be significantly faster. We will certainly outpace that of comparing a spreadsheet to last month's spreadsheet. So
Absolutely. And companies are already experiencing those types of efficiencies, which we will delve into in just a moment. Sarah, would you like to share your perspective?
Yeah, I definitely agree with my fellow panelists on what they've already said, so I'm not going to double down on what's already been mentioned. I think on our side with at least with our customers and what we've seen in the industry so far is that we're not necessarily seeing AI generating all of these ingenuitive ideas that we wouldn't have gotten to ourselves with the right amount of time. But to Billy's point, we're seeing that the AI is super speeding through processes that are not currently being focused on today because there's just simply not enough time in a day. Our industry is very time reactive. There's not a whole lot of room for proactivity. So in the areas where AI can help us be reactive in a faster way, I think that's where we're seeing things. That said, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, Goldman Sachs put out this huge report about how AI is actually being invested versus adopted right now. And unsurprisingly, but still disappointing, the construction industry is at the very bottom in terms of adoption. And a big part of that has to do with the infrastructure that things are built on. So if you're not able to take that data to actually be able to use it, in terms of where I see AI going, there's really a strong foundation that needs to be built before we can actually start applying some of these AI technologies. And it's great to have all of these companies on here because we're all really partnering in that concept of getting that data clean and being able to harbor it for better use. So I think that's where we need to be putting our focus and hopefully where we foresee more adoption.
So being more foundationally proactive, while
Mhm.
reactive is our nature, typically right now it's time to really build upon what we have and hopefully be prepared for AI's integration.
Exactly.
Great. And Lenny,
No, I'm consistently, it's never a surprise that our industry is at the bottom of some adoption curve. But that's what, you know, continues to be predictable, by the way. And it's an industry that is sometimes slow to change, but once it grasps onto benefits, it tends to move very, very quickly. I think the AI piece has become a bit confusing message, especially from the opinionated results of AI processes. You know, write me a paper, give me an opinion. Just like Michael was saying, that's kind of misled some people. The way we're focusing on it is a little is I'd say bites of automation, and it's in helping existing staff and processes do better. First of all, through price optimization and planning of what you're selling things for and when you're selling them and how you're selling them. Number two is the analyzing the behavior of the customer, which in our industry, the way the customer affects the bottom line of ready mix producers or other arms of our industry. More great than anything they do. How's the customer behaving? Typically, we throw up our arms and say, "Oh, they did it again." Well, we knew they were going to do it again, and we didn't plan for them doing it again. And that's often a mistake. The logistics planning is where most things have, from machine learning and extensive rules-based logistics to actually uh, uh, forcing AI into parts of the logistical planning piece is probably the greatest piece. And last, but I think one of the most important is in communications, communicating quickly with AI back to customers, to suppliers, that kind of automated and intuitive communication to free up human beings, one of our greatest resources and scarcest, so they can do more in the same amount of time. And that's really where our focus is right now in this little niche of the industry.
Well, and improved communications is key, right? Especially when we're talking about the entire ecosystem throughout construction. And any time that we can improve communications will help us achieve our collective project goals and industry goals for that matter. So I completely agree. And, we've kind of highlighted a lot of the efficiencies that we can foresee and what we need to do in the meantime to really reap the benefits of AI. But of course, most folks on the line today all really want to know about cost savings here. So again, a question for all panelists on the call today, and in reverse order, Lenny, I'll go with you first here. So, at a high level, how can AI positively impact a business's bottom line? Can you provide examples of customers you've worked with, et cetera?
Sure. A lot of the advancements have come, because of the LLM and the interest in it. People are open and adapting to these pieces here. In the true cost savings, I'd say we haven't really even scratched the surface in what's possible. It's because of it's needing to prove through producers of where they can do this part. And it's fundamentally come in supplementing tasks that are already being done faster. And the cost savings perhaps are going to come by not having to recruit the numbers that we need and probably can't find of people, and retaining people, and the speed of training new people. So as much as the more modern tools and AI we can put in their hands, faster that cost savings can be realized, using AI in various general and specific ways to gain those efficiencies. Route planning, fuel use, credits on green credits, anything we can do to track and email or track and analyze and make more efficient. Those kinds of pieces right there are where true cost savings are starting to emerge, but very, very primitive in most applications today, and it's growing rapidly. I was in a panel a few weeks ago, and they asked, "What do you see in the next 5 years?" I said, "I'm not thinking about the next 5 years. Thinking about the next 3 months of how quickly some of this can take." And many on the panel have far more experience than me in this kind of deployment, but it's got to be about saving money.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the bottom line, as we all know. And as this progresses and evolves, as it changes constantly with emerging technologies, surely we will see more benefits to come down the line. And I'll actually segue over to Sarah now. With your role at Geotech, do you have case studies that you could share with the group today as to cost savings and the bottom line benefit?
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. So, I mean, at a high level, I think what we've really noticed is that as we're very much focused on the quality side and enabling quality departments to make better choices. And right now, this is based on 2022 stats from NRMCA, but in 2022, it was estimated that there were only 750 technical managers across the entire country. Which makes one for every 500,000 cubic yards of concrete. And I think a lot of the people in your organization are doing a lot less than that. And so where are those resources going, and how much is being, under one person? One company that we work with is located in Charlotte, Blue Dot Ready Mix, and they do nearly 800,000 cubic yards of production, and yet they have one person really managing that and steering everything that's going towards that. And just by being able to plug this in for them to be able to manage all of their mixes in kind of one place and see all of that data coming in, I was really impressed. They have extremely clean data, frankly, for how it was being managed. But the risk is that there's one person in the organization, and some people phrase it as a get hit by a bus plan. Other people say, what if they win the lottery plan, to be a little more positive. But that one person, so much was riding on them to be managing the highest cost of their business, which was their materials. And so at a high level, it's almost about that business continuity. How are we training the next generation of workforce? How are we planning and building that continuity into the business, giving some sort of visibility to everyone that's not sitting in that role themselves, but giving a high level visibility to what is our QC manager doing all day and how can we help them do more with their time. So that's had a really positive impact with that customer so far.
And yes, absolutely. And when I think about all the cubic yards that QA, QC departments are responsible for, and from an equity standpoint as well, when we talk about smaller producers, mid-sized producers that may not have the resources available, AI could certainly provide that as well. We will talk about quality control and quality assurance in just a moment, but thank you for sharing. And Billy, from your perspective, what have you witnessed in terms of AI and, of course, the improved cost savings?
I think to kind of further elaborate on one of the comments Lenny made is the customer uh, behavior. That's something we at Command, we do actually leverage AI machine learning to determine customers' behavior, from how many orders they place in X amount of time, the time of the pour, their credit levels that they have, and be able to use that historical information and come up with customer behavior. So maybe it's not, and for your veteran dispatchers, the folks that have been in this industry, and to your point, Jessica, and Sarah too, that 30-year QC individual that is just everything's locked up here. But folks who are just breaking into the industry, they may not know that customer's behavior. They may not know how often they pay, and maybe they should, maybe they should not. But being able to have that data present to them directly as they create orders or as they assign a truck, and be able to make decisions, business critical decisions, based on that customer's behavior, is where we've seen a lot of positive impact and positive results leveraging AI in our products. It may not be beneficial to pour concrete at 6 a.m. for a customer who wants 500 yards, especially if that customer pays every 90 days and always runs late whenever they get to the job site, and they request 10-minute spacing and they pour out every 50 minutes. And for your veteran dispatchers, again, they know that customer, but new folks getting into the industry, that is something they don't know, and that's where AI can help assist them, and that does ultimately help get to a cost savings and run a more efficient business. Out of the demos that I do, those are some of the most common scenarios where we see our tools really help our customers.
That's excellent. And I mean, we all know we are in the customer service and customer experience industry. That is essentially what differentiates all of our brands from one another. So
We're all sales.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And moreover, we're creating again that customer experience, and that's what promotes market share as well as keeps our businesses profitable. Um, Before we segue over to the next question, Michael, from an AI Create perspective, what kind of cost savings have you witnessed with your customers?
Yeah, so I mean, there's the hard material costs, right? And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we're talking dollars, not nickels and dimes, right? I mean, there is significant opportunity. It's almost akin to handing somebody let alone an iPhone, but even a cell phone when they used to use a pager, right? We're just giving people superpowers and giving them better tools. And every time these things happen, right, people say like, why do I need this? Like what I'm using today is just fine. And then, now look at the world we live in, right? I mean, the things you can do from an iPhone, AI is basically akin to that, the paradigm shift it's going to cause for the industry. So hard costs, soft costs, I mean, workflow efficiency, the things it improves, just, to Sarah's point, there's not enough skilled people. It's not just a truck driver problem in our industry, it's a technical expertise problem. So, giving people superpowers and extending their reach to be able to do more or actually do what their day job is supposed to be, right? Because in the dream world, these technical people would be, optimizing mixes constantly and tweaking and working on quality, when in reality they're putting out fires, a fair amount of their time. So that some of the things that AI can help with are the things that they just don't have the time to focus on, especially when they're busy.
Yes, time is of the essence, certainly in our industry, but in general from a business perspective. And just from the 50 years of evolution that our industry has witnessed, it's very exciting to incorporate AI because, again, it can improve not only our bottom line, but also our productivity and our external facing image to our customers as well. So I appreciate all of your responses there. I do want to take a deeper dive, though, with two of our panelists in the quality control and quality assurance realm. So, Sarah, I'll start with you first. From a predictive performance perspective for ready mix concrete, how has AI really been able to improve these designs from a material analytics standpoint?
Yeah, I can touch on this in kind of two ways for people on the call who know of geotech or maybe are new to geotech. We became much more well known due to our sensor technology for maturity testing. And then once we started implementing all of these sensors across the world, mostly in North America, but around the world, and comparing them to the mixed proportions of all of these maturity curves that were being developed, we ended up with this huge database of over designed mixes and started to kind of go from there on the optimization side. So on the first one, just from a maturity perspective, users right now, when they're working with our system and creating those calibration curves, people know it's very well documented that maturity is a lot more accurate when comparing to the cores if it's done correctly than your field cured cylinders, because you are monitoring the in situ properties of the concrete and not the small kind of specimen off to the side that we hope has been cured in the same accurate conditions, which is also not able to generate usually the same heat profile just simply due to the size. And what we've been able to do with that is we put a lot of AI analytics into the maturity curves, comparing them to the proportions. And Roxy, she's our AI that's built into our different systems. She pops up when an outlier looks like it shouldn't be there. So if your mix is a calibration has been done and the maturity curve seems way too high or way too low, given the proportions of the mix, it'll flag that for companies. So that's one element. But when we get really into the further mix designs, I know that this shift to Type 1L was a big challenge in the Carolinas. And we're now actually helping guide certain customers in other parts of the countries that haven't gone through that stage yet of they are very used to working with gut and feel of how mixes work because they've worked around concrete literally their entire lives. They've breathed it, they know it. But now there's these new materials that are coming into play and we're not familiar with these. And we're actually seeing the potential of them being able to model within our system all this predictive they're able to model these different mixes but supplementing different materials in the system. So say, I want to do the same mix, but now I have these new constraints, or I have this new supply, or I have this new type of cement. I want to see what that would give me so that I'm not just throwing over design at the problem. And now we're able to get to a couple of solutions instantly to go trial and make sure that they work without actually having to do as much work as was required before. First of all, we're not having to do it by hand, and hopefully we're seeing a reduction in how many lab trials are being done. So we're just seeing that we're able to get to the answer faster, but also the reality is that new materials, new constraints that have never been seen before, at the end of the day, the AI is only going to be able to give you answers based on what it's been able to consume in the past. So it's a constant working wheel. Like we will see this evolve quite a lot over time. Our benefit is that we have been able to mine a lot of data from European markets that are way more ahead of the curve than we are. So a lot of those times we are able to see that benefit in the algorithms for our North American clients, but we're still very much scratching the surface. But really the concept is we're just getting you to the idea faster. But the idea that this is going to create a mix design for you automatically, no, this is really still requiring the experts to sit behind and understand how those materials are going to come together, especially when we're talking about constructability, workability, flowability. We're not monitoring a lot of the data that's required to predict how setting time is going to be and workability is going to be. So you can't really train an algorithm to know those factors if that data doesn't exist. So there's still quite a lot of qualitative analytics that needs to be done by the user.
And of course, right, and we'll get to the concept of human capital and how AI is a tool versus a replacement for, of course, experience. But when we're talking essentially from a mix optimization standpoint or a material supply chain management standpoint, it helps us minimize risk once we start feeding that data, because we can certainly understand when we're talking about new pozzolans that may be introduced, or admixtures, or type teas, all of the different types of cements that will evolve over the course of this industry evolution. We can certainly lean on that once it's built out. And I also see and foresee accountability measures with AI being real in terms of testing and what we see in the field versus what we see through our analytics. I do have a question here for Michael to build upon what I just asked Sarah. How can producers really benefit from AI's material profiling potential? We've talked a little bit about how we can leverage it from a mix optimization standpoint, but how do you foresee that changing?
Yeah, so we do take a different kind of approach to get to the same type of results that Sarah's alluding to, getting there faster, right? But ours is really based on looking at the chemistry. We're not necessarily concerned about looking at old data, especially when you're talking about new materials. So everything with our algorithms is based on analyzing materials on a chemistry basis, how they interact, and ultimately, again, getting to those solutions faster. And a lot of it is breaking rules of thumb. Despite all the expertise people have, as discussed, we've got all new materials, right? So you've got 1Ls, you've got next generation admix, you've got reclaimed fly ash. So to use the same rule of thumb that you probably inherited from the technical manager that had the job before you 20 years ago, and for instance, I have people, we give them a new mix and they go, well, I would never do X, I would never put that much stone or that little this or that. And it's really about letting go of those rules of thumb that are in some ways holding businesses back from, you can still achieve over designs. People are amazed when they see that you can have the over design, have the result you're looking for uh, without having to sacrifice the quality.
And absolutely, concrete is chemistry. That's what we do. And again, with all of the emerging technologies and materials, the QA and the QC will be absolutely paramount, as always, to, of course, the performance standards for our products. So I appreciate both of your perspectives on the mix design optimization and material profiling. I do also want to touch on something that we mentioned earlier around efficiencies in logistics and supply chain management. So the next question will be geared towards Billy and Lenny. I'll start with you, Billy. From a broader supply chain perspective, given all we experience from a scheduling, fleet maintenance, and material allocation challenges, how does AI have the ability to create kind of hypothetical scenarios using predictive analysis?
This is one of my favorites. Let's use fleet maintenance and scheduling as an example. You have historical information coming from whatever maintenance software you may utilize today. We've got scheduling information that we can leverage from customers using our dispatch products every single day for years, for decades at this point. And to be able to consume that information and create these hypothetical scenarios, such as a cancellation chance percentage predictor. What is the estimated chance of cancellation for this customer? What's my truck availability based on this plant? And then take outside factors as an example, such as material allocation, weather, human shortage, actually not having enough drivers, something every one of you out there experience. To be able to take that data, and again, this is all just a tool for us to utilize to make better decisions. It certainly doesn't replace us as a person. We can just be more efficient and provide more benefit for our companies that we work for, and that's one of the main things that we've seen a positive impact so far. Uh, to use, and again, hypothetical, but to use predictive analytics to help assist with drivers, help assist with dispatchers, help assist with batch operators, um, as it relates to all facets, the logistics piece of the ready mix industry.
Yeah, and I mean, oftentimes, and I'm guilty of it myself, I always think when I think of AI in the concrete world, it's really focused on the chemistry, the materials. But from a customer profiling and even an internal employee profiling perspective, it can be highly useful to improve efficiencies as well. So,
It's absolutely integral. Yep.
yeah. And I would like Lenny as well. Can you add to Billy's statements and how, of course, Cystine has improved either emerging materials, scheduling, fleet management, and how that's been a benefit?
I kind of look more at the industry as whole too, to just everything. I think 100% agreeing with Billy. The customer behavior is a key indicator to the performance for a ready mix company, and it's been under factored for a long time by who you like the best, who screamed the loudest, who you didn't. You did good for them yesterday, so you'll put them to the bottom of the list today, and that kind of behavior. But of the ready mix company, but looking at a customer and predicting what's likely to happen is key in maximizing the number of trucks you can have on the road, spacing you can have with the trucks, how many drivers you really need, because almost everyone has too few drivers to the number of trucks, and addressing those pieces in a predictive nature, taking the most profitable look at what's there. Scheduling go on for days, optimization scheduling, logistical scheduling, labor scheduling, all those factors play together into a tremendous mix. And it's just fine. That's where we're putting a ton of our efforts right now. My personal focus is on batching. That's where I came from, where I grew up, and it's in the real, how can we get more better, faster with the same plants or modifications to plants, combining the hardware, the smart plants, the materials, the delivery of the raw materials, everything that feeds into the batching side is where I think of the real key of a lot of this comes, because even at a plant on the less sophisticated nature, they have batching. They're using batching, they're doing it, and that's the most important. And then last, I think there's a major piece of this being tied together of devices in the trucks. Choose the vendor, the materials, choose the suppliers, the feedback on the performance of the materials, the high quality mix designs that people like Geotech and Michael's company are doing, all of that smart stuff, but actually putting it together in one strong piece of, and the weather and the humidity and the temperature and all of those pieces there, and that is where I think some true um, the efforts that us and everyone else are doing are going to come together for producers in a amalgamated things, because just like in the AI business, open the internet, 50 companies gonna do AI for you. It'll be 50 more, by Wednesday of next week. But it's a matter of connecting what is a real solution into real applications that people can manage and get the results that they want to be. And that to me, I think, is the real art of this, is taking all these technologies and putting them into packageable outcomes for producers.
And Lenny, to that point, these are stackable technologies in many ways. And I do love your statement about, really the compounded considerations that are not only unique to this industry, but it's essential to address in one holistic manner. And AI's ability to do that will no doubt be a benefit to this industry.
You better
So,
believe it.
yeah. So the next question I have, shifting over back to Sarah. Sarah, this addresses the environmental improvements and today's needs. How does AI meet today's needs? And the question is, we are aware as an industry that customer expectations are demanding transparency regarding environmental impact of our products. So when considering the need to reduce GWP or global warming potential associated with our materials, how does AI improve the carbon footprint associated with scope emissions?
Yeah, this is a tough question, because realistically the answer is that AI doesn't fix that, right? It's how it's applied. I mean, right now we're seeing a lot on the optimization side. I mean, it really helps in this industry that when you're optimizing and you're getting leaner on your mixes, it benefits the environment at the same time as the bottom line. So regardless of your incentivization around it, you're still getting that. But the other reality is that when you plug these systems in, and that's what we tell our clients all the time, until we analyze your data, we're not going to be able to tell you exactly how far we can move the needle because we don't know what we don't know until it's all in there. But we can make predictions based on, the statistics that are in the market, and that's that we're at nearly a 30% over design rate across the entire country right now. A lot of that is intentional, but a lot of that doesn't need to be. But there are other movements in the industry that need to happen for that to go away. But what the AI can at least do is once again, we're taking a system that can analyze a bunch of data and put it together and provide you these insights that hopefully with this technology, maybe we can have more proof in the pudding that there's a lot less safety buffers that are needed. And it really comes down to the prescriptions around mixes that are contradicting the requests of the customers. And so that's something that the more data, the more insights, the more as an industry that we can work together. That's a needle we need to move forward, but it's not just AI solves that problem tomorrow. One of the biggest cruxes of that as well is kind of coming back to the testing. Right now, our systems for our optimization and material management, it does not connect directly in with the data that we're getting from our sensor technology. The reason for that is that they're two very different platforms. One is evolving very, very quickly, but the other reason for that is there actually hasn't been a huge pull for that. Because although people think I want to see my sensor data in there, the reality is that they can't optimize based on sensor data because that's not going to be used for acceptance on the testing. So if we don't improve our testing at the same time, so what AI is really doing is it's showing the gaps in the industry that we need to elevate, but it's really up to us to make that happen. It's a tool that can be used to further benefit us, kind of going back to what I was saying about the modeling. If you want to be able to optimize for specific constraints on GWP without sacrificing quality, then we can do that for you. But ultimately, if the engineer on record won't accept that, there's only so much that AI can do by itself. So this is really, again, another tool that's hopefully going to push all of these other facets in the industry forward.
Yes, and I mean, to your point, when we talk about environmental impact of concrete, testing is a huge player with regards to GWP because we do over design our mixes to compensate for any risk factors or testing issues that we experience as well. So the gaps are real, and but moreover, it's still a people problem.
Yeah.
In that sense, yeah. I would like to also have Michael address that question. Would you like to share too on environmental impact?
Yeah, so I mean, by optimizing mixes, the most expensive ingredient is typically cement, right? So with us, it's about, again, maintaining it. We don't need to get rid of over design. That makes people uncomfortable, engineers, producers. But how, again, do I put that same palette of materials together in this perfect arrangement so that I can reduce cost, reduce cement, ultimately reduce carbon? And we are able to measure that delta, right? If you start with a baseline, we've got NRMCA data. We're integrated with both Climate Earth and WAP. Our customers can actually generate estimated EPDs to see kind of relative improvement between the baseline mix and the new mix without having to go through all the steps to publish an EPD. So you can kind of tackle both fronts, and again, not reduce over design, not still sleep at night, but at the same time, we're seeing reductions of up to 42 pounds on average uh, per cubic yard in carbon footprint.
Excellent. And that also just it really sparks in my mind to the point of, I would say, just never sacrificing performance for sustainability. I always say that when I'm having conversations with engineers, architects, we're improving our carbon footprint, but at the same time, we never sacrifice performance of our product from obviously a life safety standpoint. But on the EPD front, quickly before we move on to the question around human capital and succession solutions, I would like to talk briefly. Michael, can you share about how you're talking about EPDs being able to generate data beforehand, before even going through that publishing process? From an LCA or life cycle analytics standpoint, how does AI improve that? Because right now, most producers are considering that process.
Yeah, I mean, it's using the NRMCA benchmark data, the regional data, right? So it allows for people to do relative assessment, right? So you don't have to go full-blown EPD to at least measure the delta, especially if you're doing trial batches. Again, we're still trialing all this concrete before we put it into production. So generating full-blown EPDs, if you don't know where you're going to land, is cumbersome. So having the AI tools to generate mixes, ultimately using estimated EPDs as a measuring stick, I think just gets us to the same answer faster. And you can have both, right? You can reduce cost and reduce carbon, and again, not sacrifice performance.
I just wanted to definitely address the benchmarking piece that a lot of producers are currently finding themselves in, because that's critical in terms of managing carbon footprint down the line. So thank you. So moving on to the human capital piece of AI, because again, this is critical when talking about artificial intelligence. This is for all panelists. I'm going to start with Lenny. Oftentimes, again, individuals have an immediate knee-jerk reaction when they hear about AI. And this is across the board, of course, assuming that it may reduce the availability of jobs or potentially replace jobs for sure. Can we address the concerns around human capital and focus on how AI can improve and provide solutions for labor shortages, QC gaps, which we've talked about, and succession planning? Lenny?
Sure. I think everything's true there. AI, like any innovation in the past, will ultimately make things better. But people always have a knee-jerk reaction and overthink the negative impacts that it could have. And that has to go through a normal life cycle of progress. People will push back, people will behave badly, they'll be resistant, and then ultimately things will move ahead. It's just in the normal cycle. The retiring workforce is the problem, is one of the largest problems in for our industry and our economy. And AI can help bridge that gap, and it's an important piece of that. Is it, we're going to use AI to drive a truck? Some would say yes. Are we going to use AI to schedule better so we can use less trucks, thus need less people? Yes. So those are the way these aspects have to change, and it is just gonna have to be taken bite sizes, piece by piece, and address each of these things. Everything from onboarding to uh, releasing employees to training employees to monitoring employees, monitoring customers is all in this human capital piece. And that is going to have to be very focused on what it's going to enhance. If we're going to throw AI into a group of 8 people, what's the expected outcome? Is it going to be 6 people, 4 people, or is it 8 people doing more? And that's the kind of mature thinking is going to have to be in place by strategic and tactical decisions made in all industries, but if focusing on ours is exactly what is that desired outcome and focus to bring that to the case, not to push people out the doors or things like that, but to get the most out of everything we can have. If a byproduct is people are more efficient, that's a great piece. But the I think the QC side of this is ahead. It's statistical. It's got a lot of very smart people working on it. I think the logistical parts is coming together, and then the customer interface and behavior and planning piece is monstrous. But it's the greatest goal is this human capital address.
And also applying strategic, when I think of these kind of strategic plans around integrating AI, you have to consider that behavioral and human nature element of learning how to trust a new technology, right? So there's a lot of components there when we're talking about succession planning, but integrating AI into that leadership model too is certainly going to happen as well at the, I'd say, higher executive level. So thank you, Lenny. Billy, would you like to add as well your thoughts?
I would love to. This is probably my favorite question out of everything that's been asked so far. And some real world examples that I've experienced this in is, as an example, AI chatbots. That's a very generic thing. It's something a lot of companies are utilizing today. And to apply that in the ready mix industry, where I came from, we had 2 full-time employees who their job, they were order takers. They definitely worked more than 40 hours a week, and all they did was answer phone calls and create orders in the dispatch solution. And there's nothing wrong with that. We didn't have the software available to help assist with that, but now we do. So imagine, especially if you have great leadership at your company, imagine giving those two folks the opportunity to get into something that we could actually leverage their skill set more than just typing in data into software, right? So get them into QC, get them into accounting, get them into plant management, sales even. There's so much more opportunity that could be given to people because prior to that, they were an integral part of the business operations. You cannot afford, due to the volume of information being brought into your company, hopefully, to bridge that gap. You had to have those folks there. So that's where I would utilize it today. I think any good leaders should, try to see potential in every employee that they have and utilize their strengths instead of, hey, we got to have him here. We're going to keep him there as long as he's willing to stay there. That's not fair to him or the company. Secondly, another huge thing that we see outside of something relatively generic, such as just chat features, is paper. It's a large issue in our industry, one that we kind of made some progress with COVID, but we have solutions out there today that can capture the data from all this paper and then get it into accounting systems for accounts payable, accounts receivable. And again, that starts to leverage someone's skill set more than just typing data into, instead of dispatch, an ERP or QuickBooks. So there's certainly a level of automation and efficiency we can gain just from eliminating the data entry piece there, whether it's an AI chatbot taking the order from the customer and putting that into dispatch for you, or if it's someone who has a bachelor's or a master's degree and all they're doing is AP entries into their accounting software solution. We have answers for that today utilizing our products, and it's really, really incredible. But to your point, as you opened up with this, and others have said, the construction industry is typically at the bottom or second to last to adopt change. And that's where I think we should leverage AI to help that succession plan as well. We have to rip the band-aid off and say it's not as scary as it seems. We don't want to get rid of you. We want to utilize you instead. So that's kind of the mindset that I look forward to whenever I start working with companies showing our products.
Yeah, I love the idea of, again, AI opening doors for growth opportunities within companies. But it won't replace, I think, from a concrete industry perspective, oftentimes it's like everyone's like adamant that this is a customer service industry, and it is. But have your people that are doing data entry or another employee that may be great at interacting with customers even expound upon that customer experience and actually spend more time with customers because they're not spending time on data entry or other types of tasks, right? So that's great. Michael, would you like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a little different spin on it. Everything everybody said's accurate, but if you don't embrace some of these tools, you can get left behind, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. It's, you don't see anybody that's, uses a typewriter anymore, right? You had to learn how to use Windows and Excel, and this is going to be no different, right? You have to kind of adapt with the times, embrace the new tools, so that you have the skill sets for tomorrow, and those skill sets change, right? It's kind of like you look at the solar industry. It didn't get rid of a ton of jobs in oil and gas. It just repurposed people to do different things. So I think it's important that companies. I remember at the NRMCA convention very clearly that kind of economists talking about, if you're not embracing this or at least exploring it, you're already behind. And I would say that's applicable to the individual as well as to the companies.
I completely agree. And I was literally thinking of that talk when you were discussing your points here on really new technologies, if they're not embraced, essentially can dramatically impact competition in marketplaces as well. And competition is a very healthy thing for all of us. So thank you for sharing that as well, because it truly is an indicator of a healthy economy as well in terms of adopting new technologies. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm going to change my answer completely just based on listening to everybody else's. I want to share a story actually of a customer that I spoke to about a month ago. They had seen what we were doing with our AI and our platform, really wanted to dive into it right away, but unfortunately don't have a dispatch system today. Something that they're doing completely by hand. For the size that they were, this was very shocking to me, but it shouldn't have shocked me, I guess, at this point. And they were describing that they have a specific person within their company that they feel is like the face. She sits at the front desk. She's kind of the person that greets everybody and is very important to the company. But if they were to go to a dispatch system that did all of these things automatically, especially with the e-ticketing, a lot of her job, almost all of it, would be gone. Because right now they were taking all of those paper tickets, they were bringing them back to the office, they're scanning them, she's invoicing everyone directly. And they know that they can replace this process by software, but they want her to stay within the organization because they feel that that's really important for 15% of other things that are happening. At the same token, when we were speaking about working with our system, and one of the main questions I asked was how reliable is it for you to be getting all of your break tests back from your third parties? And they said it's a really big struggle. If they needed a lot of that test data to be coming in so that they could see it, they're not getting a lot of that reliability today, and it's almost a full-time job to kind of hound these companies and get this back. And so I said, well, what if you were to use a dispatch system to automate this process? But if this woman is so vital to your organization and it sounds like she's really good with external people, why don't you have her hound that? And so yes, we are suggesting that we're taking a part of her job, but we're also suggesting that she can re-engineer what she's doing every day to have a bigger impact on the company. And sometimes sometimes these companies are spending so much time in the weeds of it, just kind of getting through the day to day, that if you take a step back and really sit back and say, where is all my human capital working today? What can I do with it more? But it's not easy to do that. It's not easy to be focused on the business when you are so in the business. And hopefully that's what companies like ours can hopefully consult as we kind of continue to dig in and probe. And so I believe that customers working on getting up into their dispatch system right now, not just because of that one conversation, but it's really just coming back to, at the end of the day, technology is not going to replace people, but people who don't use technology will be replaced by people that do. And so if we as an industry or each individual organization, if we can focus on helping our employees leverage technology and learn how to use technology so that they don't get left behind, that's what we can be doing to help our people right now.
And you're actually tapping into the potential of your people more so than beforehand, for sure. So yeah, I completely love all of your responses here, and it's changed my perspective of AI and how it can be utilized as well. So I appreciate that. As far as our closing questions, since we are at the top of the hour, I would like to start with Sarah, and we'll go in reverse order here. For all panelists, to round out the panel, what are the biggest challenges, rather, and obstacles in applying AI today? And how have you navigated the barriers that you've experienced with your customers? Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use this to touch on one aspect that hasn't come up at all. And that's the concept of, or the idea that we're not putting enough investment into cybersecurity right now. I think everyone that's probably on this panel, that's listening to this panel, has either been a victim or has known somebody that's been a victim, or a company that's been a victim of, a shutdown that's happened, a hacker that comes in. And a lot of these scams that are happening right now are not even leveraging AI at all. And so it's really scary to think about what could happen to our infrastructure in the future. I don't personally believe that AI is necessarily the issue. I believe that it's the foundation that we're lacking. We have almost in turn become a little consultative with our customers on how to be, better in reinforcing some of their programs right now. And it's been a little, I will say, some companies, it's been great to work with them because we've seen how they're doing it. Other companies, it's a little scary how easy it's been to just plug into their systems and start taking your data without getting what I would consider the right form of authorization. So that's something that I would really say is important, not just for AI, but in general. Like that's something that every company should be taking a deeper dive into right now, and asking your suppliers, asking all of us on this call right now, what are we doing to reinforce your data when it comes to us, I think is a really good first step.
Absolutely. And we always look at the safety of our product first and foremost, but cybersecurity is a very real concern and is costing businesses for sure in the Carolinas a lot of dollars, given the fact that we've had so many scams recently, an uptick in those. So definitely have to keep our proprietary information from a business and material standpoint safe. So thank you. Michael?
Yeah, so to me, it's this I'm too busy to save time or money. I mean, it drives me crazy, right? You know, like we were talking about, people are in the business every day, so there's this when I'm not busy, I'll do it. Well, and a lot of these solutions will make you not busy, right? Like, so this, summer is famous for just everybody waiting for the producers to come back to you, right? And because they're all busy doing what they do. So I would just say, you can't reap the benefits till you start down the road. So, and there's, different degrees of how involved you have to get on the front end. But if you don't at least start the conversations, then realistically, there's implementation, there's all these things that do have to happen. So by delaying it, you're delaying ultimately reaping the benefits as well.
Yes. And, you can't really reap the fruit if you don't actually plant a tree, right? So I like to say we are our biggest barrier typically, in terms of just making our lives easier for ourselves. So thank you. Billy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sarah's topic on this and address cybersecurity. It's probably the number one thing our teams face daily is, especially as we migrate from the on-premise world to the cloud world that we're in nowadays. And it's, traditionally it's been your data on your servers, and you've had employees who manage access to that. And now it's, hey, your data in our cloud to run your business, and overcoming some of those obstacles, and really navigating change management and building trust with our customers to help them understand that, yeah, while it's in the cloud, that doesn't mean everybody has access to it. Now, to counter that statement too, it's very tough whenever you have a data breach that happens literally every single day at this point. AT&T, Experian, et cetera. So a lot of not only, actual human resources as well as AI, and then obviously, actual capital dollars have been invested into cybersecurity. It's an absolute, just like the foundation of a ready mix software to dispatch drivers to orders. Equal to that is the cybersecurity aspect to all of our software offerings. Um, no one's going to utilize our software if it's insecure, period. No one will utilize any software if it's insecure. And especially in the ready mix industry. And to Michael and Sarah's point of this, your secret sauce is in that mix design. Well, if I start getting that mix data into the cloud, who all has access to that, or who could get access to that? So those are just some of the obstacles we face today. And we've really, it's absolutely critical that we address it first and foremost, and not deal with it later because we're busy right now. It's unacceptable. You have to handle it head on.
It's a must. It can't be overlooked for sure. So thank you, Billy. And Lenny?
Very quickly, the biggest challenge and obstacle in applying AI, like any technology, is people. Um, Resistance to change, too busy to change, too busy to focus on an outcome that's going to take some work to achieve, and that's an obstacle to overcome by continuing to grassroots these advancements up, build a fan base, and like everything else, the adoption will increase, and then the industry will have another boom of technology in that it's encompassing across all aspects: purchasing, production, order taking, accounting, every piece there. No one magic solution. It's a lot of collaborative solutions, but the main obstacle is getting companies to realize it's probably a group they need to form. Maybe it starts weekly, monthly. Soon it'll be every day, and to drive this new technology to help their businesses perform. And that's pretty much where all software companies thrive, is when business owners and operators and managers want to enhance their business, and that's our path.
Yep. While people are the problem, I completely agree. People buy people still. And I understand the behavioral barriers associated with the resistance to AI and adopting new technology, but trust will inevitably be built over time with technologies proving themselves essentially. So thank you. Those were all of our questions for the panelists today, but I do want to allow time for anyone on the line today to ask. Go ahead and come off mute if you have questions or chat it in the chat function for any of our panelists today. While folks are doing that, I do want to say thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your expertise in this field, and we greatly appreciate you joining CRMCA as well as our associated organizations, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessica. Great moderator.
Yeah,
Good job.
thank you.
We don't have anyone asking questions today. That is completely okay. I will send a follow-up email with the recording of the webinar, and always feel free to reach out to any of our panelists, connect them on LinkedIn, as well as direct email me if you have any follow-up questions or you would like to start your journey with integrating AI into your company. But with that being said, since we have no questions on the line today, again, thank you all for your time and for your expertise, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jessica, so much.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care,
Bye.
y'all. Bye.